Hi guys, hope you are doing well. In continuation with our first class, that is Introduction to Web Services, we will be seeing today what actually the implementation of web service steps. What are all the steps which are needed for the implementation, especially for the implementation. What are all the steps? Okay, we will see that. So actually, the very important concept in Java is interface. This is very important concept. So in Java it is very important. So it's a kind of what is called interface is very important in Java. So we'll discuss that. So interface is basically a contract. A contract saying that I will implement all the methods of interface. If I just want to brief that, for example, let us consider there is an interface called A. Okay, there is an interface called A, and in this interface we are having three methods. How many methods are there? Three. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so when I tell about contract, what actually the contract specifies? For example, in a later point of time, this interface, particularly the interface A, can be used by different classes, right? So if I want to brief, for example, this interface A is used by class X, and the same interface is used by class Y and class Z, etc. So what will happen is, whenever this interface A has been used by these classes particularly, all these classes should agree that we are going to implement all these methods. What are all they? First method, second method and third method. So we will implement all these methods. For example, if I can say the methods in interface A are do ABC, do XYZ, and do something like I can say DEF. Okay, so class X should implement do ABC, do XYZ and do DEF, and Y also same and Z also same. Then only we cannot get any compilation errors, because it's a contract and we should abide this contract. We should abide with this contract. Once this contract is failure, then there are chances of getting compilation or runtime errors as specified by this contract. So that is what the interface in Java. So why I am discussing about this interface is, the whole concept of web services is based on Java interfaces. Java interface concept. When I mean Java interface, it's nothing but Java interface concept. So what is an interface? An interface is a contract agreed by the implementation classes abiding with the rules. Clear enough? Now this is one concept of interface, and another concept of interfaces are something like this. For example, let us assume there is it is a Java environment. Let us assume it's a Java environment. Okay, it's a Java environment, and let us assume this is a DB. For example, for time being, let us assume it's a DB. Okay, it's a DB. Now these two are completely different, right? Okay, these two are completely different because it's a Java and it's a DB. So this is a complete environment, okay, and this is actually a complete environment. So these both are complete environments. This is complete environment and this is complete environment. So there should be a mediator between these two, so that these two different environments can talk to each other, can communicate, can send the data, receive the data, whatever maybe it is. So that gap will be fulfilled by this concept called interfaces. Now I assume you got this concept very clearly, right? So what Java will do, whatever the DB interfaces, that means whatever the contract in this DB will be abided by this Java, and all the methods in DB will be implemented. So since Java has agreed to implement all the contract information in the DB, it is abiding with the rules of DB or not? Yes, of course. Then now Java and DB will handshake with each other and they will communicate with each other without any problem. So that is the concept evolved taking into the consideration, and we have got an interface called JDBC, right? JDBC, an interface, Java database connectivity. So since there are so many of people who are not from Java background, for those purpose only, for those taking into consideration, for those guys taking into the consideration, I'm explaining about this JDBC concept. Okay, sorry, interface concept, keeping those guys into considerations. So if you want to pause this video, you can pause and go through this concept whatever I have told. And one more thing is, for example, if I am telling in terms of programming terminology, it may look somewhat harder to actually intercept all these concepts. So what I will do means, I will try to resemble these concepts with real-time analogies. For example, if I tell contract, it is nothing but a kind of certificate. For example, if I want to do my MSc, or if I want to do my PhD, then I should get the certificate, right? So whatever the courses prescribed in this course, once I have finished that, then I will get the certificate. So if you compare our contract definition with that certificate, you will easily get to know what about the contract, what is actual definition of the contract is. Unless I completed all the subjects, I cannot be called as a software engineer, even if it is a that MBA or doctors. So you are getting me, right? That is MBBS. They have to abide with all the courses, then only they will get the certificate. Something like that. Compare these functions in terms of certificates. All these functions are courses, and this contract is a certificate. So once I finish all these courses like do ABC, do XYZ, do DEF, then only I will be getting this contract. In real-time analogy, that is nothing but a certificate. Hope you understand this, right? It is very important concept. So please go through this. Okay, please go through this particular this PPT info so that you can easily understand whatever we have discussed till now. And there is a reason behind discussing all these things before discussing actual implementation of the web services. In the beginning of the class itself I told you, right? So we will actually see how this definition helps us in implementing the web services. So in web services, listen carefully. In web services there will be a client and there will be a server. There will be a client and there will be a server. So in the this is called server. Okay, don't confuse. This particular thing is server. Okay, I'll do one thing. So for better understanding, I'm actually coloring this server. So this is nothing but a server now. And this is actually our client. This is our client. Of course, by now you may have known that where the web services will be deployed. Of course, it will be in server, right? So web services will be deployed in the server. Where our client code will be residing? Our client code will be residing in client computer. Don't confuse, okay? When I drawing these boxes, these are nothing but computers with their own IP addresses somewhere in the world. Okay, so this client computer is somewhere in the Hyderabad and this server will be somewhere in the US. So now this client computer has to communicate with the server. For what purpose? In order to get this weather web service forecast, right? This is the way of communication. Client is communicating with the server and the server is sending the response to the client. In my first video I already showed you when I entered the city name as Hyderabad and the country name as India, we are getting humidity, temperature in terms of Fahrenheit, everything, right? How come that is possible? Because my computer, which is nothing but client computer, listen carefully, my computer is nothing but client computer, and that weather forecast computer is nothing but a server. So I am sending a request to the server and server is sending a response. Clear enough? So it's not a rocket science. It's basically a client server communication, even in the web services. So by now, tell me, what is this client can be called as? Client can be called as consumer, right? Because it is consuming something. It is consuming the current temperature of Hyderabad. And what the server is called as? Server is called as provider, right? It's a provider because it is providing something. What it is providing? Tell me that. What it is providing? It is providing current temperature of Hyderabad. Current temperature of a particular city in somewhere in the world. So as a consumer, I have to send some inputs, right? What inputs I have to send? I have to send city name, that is in our case it is Hyderabad, and country. We have seen this yesterday. We have seen this. So when these two input parameters being sent to this server, what server will return in turn? Server will return the temperature in terms of Fahrenheit. For example, the temperature is 45 degrees or Celsius, whatever, Fahrenheit or Celsius. You can consider according to your comfort. Okay, 45 degrees centigrade. centi. So in this case 45 degrees centigrade is nothing but what? It is nothing but our output, and the city name and country name is nothing but input. Okay, so if you want, pause this and go through this whatever we have discussed, because I am moving to the next slide. So in web services we used to have two classes, right? What are those two classes? One is consumer class and second one is implementation class. So in order to get the communication between these two classes, we should bring another guy into the picture. You remember, consumer class talks to, forgive me for the mistakes, because since time constraint I am typing very fast. Consumer talks to with fill this gap. Actually I am not filling this gap as of now. Consumer talks to with implementation class. So what is this gap? How these two guys will communicate? By means of mediator, right? Who is that mediator? Interface. So remember one point, most of the time a Java client communicates with a Java server or .NET server or any server only by means of interface. But here there is some problem. Even though I am telling that consumer class can communicate very well with implementation class, there is some problem. When there will be a problem? For example, if this consumer class, that is client class, is written in Java and also implementation class is written in Java, there is no problem because both are Java guys. If that is not the case, let us assume this consumer class is written in .NET and implementation class is written in Java, then there will be a problem because this interface won't work there, because these two are different languages. You may interrupt me here saying that earlier you told that Java can very well talk to JDBC, but you are now contrasting, saying that two different languages cannot talk via interface. Yes, two different technologies cannot talk by using the interface, normal interface. But JDBC is implemented in Java. Since it is implemented using normal interface, our Java can communicate with JDBC. But here the two things are totally different. Are you getting my point? Consumer is written in Java, implementation is written in .NET. So how the normal interface can able to talk? It's not possible. So what we have to do, what is the solution for that is, we have to give a special type of interface irrespective of technology the consumer understands. What I mean, if I share Java interface to .NET consumer, it may not work, right? Hence interface should be technology independent. So we should change the format of this particular normal interface to a format, listen carefully, to a format where both of these guys can understand, and that format is nothing but, I think Some of the guys might have guessed by now, right? That format is nothing but extensible markup language, in short XML. So guys, remember one point. Now we have to share the contract in the form of XML document. So you are getting me? So this XML document in terms of web services is nothing but WSDL. What is WSDL? Web Service Definition Language. What interface contains? Interface contains methods, argument and return types, right? WSDL is also another form, but we have changed it to XML. It's not, since we changed it to XML, we cannot say WSDL as interface. No, it's wrong. WSDL is also interface. So whatever the normal interface contains, WSDL also contains, like method names, return types and arguments. So WSDL is something which is very useful. For example, we have written our client class. So for example, let's say we are writing our own application and we have written client app, and how the client app will know which web service to call, because that whole information is combined where, or wrapped where, that whole information is wrapped in WSDL. So client will get to know which method to call on which web service by means of this WSDL. In short form, we call it as a WSDL. So I already promised I can resemble this with real-time analogy so that you can understand better. For example, if you go to any hotel, right, how it will come to know which food to order? It's nothing but by seeing a menu, right? So by seeing menu, we will order Chinese, continental, or whatever may be, Italian, something like that. So same way, if consumer wants to know which method to call on this particular web service, like a menu, the consumer class will use our WSDL and it will get to know which methods to call. Okay, that is what the main thing is. So now it's very clear for us, because we have discussed what is consumer classes, and we have discussed what is implementation classes, right? And we have discussed what is WSDL is, and we have discussed what XML is. So we have discussed what normal interface is. So we have did all these things. But there is some problem even here. So that is what I am going to address in the next slide. I told you guys that our client app will communicate with server app. Our client app will communicate with server app by means of WSDL, right? Because it is language independent. Even though it is language independent, the question is how we send info to web service from client app. Let's say this web service is returning one data type, okay, and that data type this consumer class may or may not know, right? It's not a guarantee, because I already told you these two boxes are implemented in different technologies. There should be some means of data type independence also. What I mean is, string in Java obviously different from string in C++. Then how we can exchange info from client app to web services? The solution would be when we exchange input arguments and return types from the web service, the format should be understandable by client application as well as web services. So the format should be again what? The format should be again XML only. The format should be again XML. So if I compare this with real-time analogy again, might be some of the guys are confused state right now. I know that. For example, I told you that the client application is sending city name and country name, and the server application should be sending the temperature in Fahrenheit. So the data types, whenever it is sending city name as Hyderabad and country name as India, this particular box, which is nothing but server, cannot understand that because it is implemented in different language. It will throw an error saying that you are sending some crap information. Send me the information in the format which can be understood by me. So there should be a means of before sending, there should be a means of converting these input parameters in terms of independent language, that is nothing but XML as we discussed earlier. Okay, so who will be doing that? So whenever we are exchanging info between the client and web service across the network, the format should be XML. So there is a specification for sending and receiving, and that specification is nothing but very important concept. Please listen carefully. SOAP, it stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Again guys, there will be a question arising. Simple Object Access Protocol very will come into the picture while converting from one data type to other end data type, like Java data type to .NET data type. But at the Java end, who will be converting that Java object to Simple Object Access Protocol object? There should be again a helper class for us, and that is nothing but service endpoint interface. I will tell you once again if it is confusing. For example, I told you guys, right, input parameters whenever passing through the passing across the network, it should be converted to some format, and that format is SOAP. Remember, there are some tools available in the market which can very well do this conversion from input parameters to SOAP or return types to SOAP. But internally, to convert into this SOAP, that means come down to this object, Simple Object Access Protocol, there should be some class, and that class is nothing but our service endpoint interface. What I mean is, the conversion is done by intermediate class, and this takes care of conversion. Okay, and we need to call methods on top of this service endpoint interface. We need to call methods on top of this service endpoint interface. So diagrammatically, what the stages the call is happening. First, the input parameter should be converted to SOAP, right? That will be taken care by some tools in the market which are available ready-made. But there should be some intermediate class which will do this conversion embedded in that particular tool. That tool is nothing but service endpoint interface. If I go somewhat low level details, this is what happening. This particular class, what it will do, whenever it sees Java input parameters, this particular class will convert those Java input parameters to Simple Object Access Protocol, and here also the same thing happens. Service endpoint interface for .NET will convert into SOAP or SOAP over HTTP and send across the network. Fair enough? So with this, I am concluding my class now. Hope you enjoyed this class, and if you have any queries, please let me know. Thank you very much. This is Sunil signing off. Thank you.